Hyphens bind words together to create new meanings. These word groupings can summarize large blocks of abstract thought. By labeling our insights, they unlock our potential to think clearly. A good example is blood pressure. This insight label has helped us prevent problems for generations. But wouldn't it be nice if we could come up with new insight labels, such as dependency conditioning? This is an insight label I created for that so familiar scenario that many people have talked about, where you give a mouse a muffin and he asks for a glass of milk, and how it can be tricky to help people when you find that you're conditioning them to be dependent. Hyphens are awesome. All we need to do is notice this, and hyphen appreciation will inevitably lead to more insight labels. This then leads to better communication and implementation of ideas, hopefully unraveling the joy kills to volunteering and finding fulfillment. All of this right here is something I call a concept visualizer. I recommend that we all start making these. But if you give your concept visualizer a good insight label, then it allows it to become part of our everyday language. I find ChatGPT particularly helpful in helping me create good insight labels for any insight that I have. You'll notice today that I'm using an app called Freeform that works with Apple, but there's a lot of other whiteboard apps that can help anyone do this kind of stuff. Now I want to talk about why this is helpful, and the truth is, when we use language, we're using some of the smaller parts of our brain, and we're kind of stuck to one dimension for our thinking processes. If you want to use 2 dimensions, then it really helps to think about things spatially and to have things laid out spatially. But if you really want to think in 3 dimensions, it helps to use color coding and all kinds of other techniques. And that's because many people have commented on how powerful the occipital lobe is. It's the part of our brain that handles our sight. And if you're still not convinced that color coding helps, I just want to show you this quick exercise of how it's really hard to find the hidden sentence when you've got a bunch of other words mixed in. But if we color code the words, you can easily find the secret sentence. Now I also want to talk to you about sentence structure. Now a normal simple sentence might be as simple as a noun, verb, and then noun. This isn't taxing to our brain, and we can think about it pretty easily. Now a more complex sentence might have a lot of modifiers mixed in. You might have an adjective, a noun, an adverb, then our verb, then our noun, and even some sort of prepositional phrase, which could also be considered some sort of modifier. Some of our best thinking uses a lot of dependent clauses. When you have 2 verbs, you have all these other nouns, and it becomes really confusing when one sentence ends and when another begins. And this can be really taxing on the brain. You might not notice it consciously, but subconsciously you'll feel very taxed on trying to understand what it is that someone has to say. Now let's look at an example of a sentence that has too many verbs in it and can be really hard to understand. Here it is. Labeling our insights helps us simplify our sentences. See, we have a verb with a modifier and a noun and another verb, noun, verb, modifier, noun, which is obviously very taxing. But then we get to simplify it all using our insight labels and hyphens to create a much better sentence that just reads as insight labels aid sentence simplification. This uses a noun, a verb, and a noun. Simple as that. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope this convinces you to keep using hyphens to label your insights, but I also look forward to seeing more concept visualizers in the future.